Hello, this is Han, and this is my third in a series of videos on the American criminal justice system for citizens. In this video, I'd like to talk a bit about what an indictment is, what grand juries do, and how it's different on the federal and state levels. In my previous video, I gave an overview of the criminal justice system, and this video is sort of a follow-up to that video. So, we have heard that a prosecutor can indict a ham sandwich, right? It is a phrase that is to kind of mock the seriousness of the grand jury, because historically grand juries were seen as safeguards of liberty, right? You have a group of ordinary citizens, these 12 to 15 ordinary citizens who charge an individual with a crime. They're the grand jury. They indict an individual. That is what the grand jury issues. When they decide that there's probable cause to believe that a crime exists, they indict an individual. So on the federal level, all cases must start, at least the court part, obviously the FBI or ATF or whoever will do the police work. But the U.S. Attorney's Office does not just charge individuals. Instead, they have to secure a grand jury indictment. And given how many crimes now exist, how many federal crimes now exist in the grand jury process, they go through it pretty quickly. And this is where this ham sandwich phrase comes from. But on the state level, the prosecutor charged the case, right? The DA's office can just up and charge the case. And so there's no need for the district attorney to take a case to the grand jury. So what does the grand jury do on the state level? Well, first of all, the grand jury actually is an investigative body, and you can use the grand jury to investigate crime that you couldn't otherwise investigate with the police. And that's usually for two reasons. The first reason is maybe it's a complex economic crime, and you might not have, or the police might not have, probable cause to get a search warrant to get certain documents, right? The police suspect somebody of being involved in crime, money laundering, whatever, and they want his bank records. But right now, they don't have probable cause. They have a hunch, or they have reasonable suspicion, and that's not enough to get a warrant. So the case could go to the grand jury, because the grand jury can subpoena in these records. The grand jury has subpoena power. And so what they could do is they could issue a subpoena ducis tecum. That means subpoena, with the bringing of records to the bank to bring that in so that they can look at these records in making their decision. So that's one way you can use a grand jury to do an investigation. The other is you use the grand jury secrecy to do your investigation. Grand juries are secret proceedings. The only people who are in the room are the witnesses, maybe an advisory witness, the grand jury investigator, right? A lead detective from the police agency or the district attorney's investigator, the DA, and the grand jurors. These are the only people in the room. There's no judge, there's no defense attorney. It's a secret proceeding. So it is not court, right? It's not court. It is not on the record, even though a record is kept, and it's a secret proceeding. And this is useful when you might have organized crime activity or cases where a witness might be afraid to come forward. And the secrecy helps protect that witness so that that witness can talk to the grand jurors who would otherwise be reluctant to talk to the police. So that's what you could use a grand jury for. You can use it as an investigative tool. The other use of the grand jury is to kind of pre-try a case that the DA is reluctant to file himself. This will come in cases of maybe public corruption, or in cases where the investigation by the police reveal a very colorable defense, right? So if we look at public corruption, the DA, the budget is determined by the county commissioners. The sheriff, the budget is determined by the county commissioners. So what if there is evidence out there, there is the thought that a county commissioner is corrupt. This person has been embezzling. There's some information out here that this person is selling his office or something like that, right? You want transparency because if you charge this person, you want to know that this person should have been charged and it's not a witch hunt. On the other hand, if you don't charge this person, you want to be sure that this is not government officials covering for each other against the public. And so you can use the grand jury to do this because it's no longer just government insiders. It is this body of citizens who form the grand jury and can investigate the case, and they decide whether or not to indict this public official for corruption. You can also use it where you have a high-profile case where there are very bad consequences, like somebody's dead, right? But the perpetrator of this might have a very legitimate defense. And I think this is what happened in Ferguson. In Ferguson, Missouri, right, Mike Brown was shot by a police officer. And the local DA there, instead of just charging the officer, took the case to the grand jury. And so what the grand jury did, and we know this because they issued their report, which was basically releasing all the transcripts, redacting out names of all the testimony. They also released some of the exhibits that were published. So we know what the grand jury saw and what they were considering. And it seems to me, having read that stuff, that the prosecutor got the feeling that this was a justifiable homicide. But remember, this was a huge political kerfuffle, right? Al Sharpton had gone there. There were riots. The Justice Department was involved, and so, the DA was sort of caught in this catch-22, right? If he didn't think that it was really a good case, but charged it by caving under political pressure, I'm not sure he would have been able to live with himself. And later, if that officer was acquitted at trial, he would have wasted a lot of time, a lot of taxpayer money, gotten expectations raised from the community, and would have gone down in flames looking like an unethical idiot. On the other hand, if he chose to just not indict, right, people would think he's covering for the police, and the riots may or may not have been worse. So he takes it to the grand jury, and they made their decision. And so it's not just one guy deciding, it is the community deciding that this shooting of Mike Brown was a justifiable homicide rather than murder. So that is sort of what we use grand juries for nowadays. If you have questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. And thank you for watching.